What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Country Bunkers Trains. Hope you're doing good. Hope you're having a good week. I tell you, we've got a good one lined up for today. At least I think we do. Today's video is actually way long overdue. I actually picked up the engine that we're featuring in today's video exactly a year ago. I picked it up last November as a little Christmas gift to myself, and I'm kind of surprised we haven't done a video on it yet. However, we're going to make that up today and get one out. We did actually do a quick unboxing video and a quick run of this engine when it first showed up. I'll try and include a link to that video in the description below. But what do you say we jump right into it? Today I thought we'd take a quick peek at this magnificent MTH Premier Great Northern Z6 Challenger. What a beauty. And like I say, what an idiot. I can't believe we haven't done a video on this engine yet. But we're making that up. Now, this engine has been spotted and seen in several of the videos over the last year. I've been running the wheels off this one and enjoying the hell out of it. It's just an awesome, awesome piece. I'm not really known for doing much history on this channel. It's not really what we do here. As I've mentioned before, I'm not really a big rail fan or railroad historian buff or anything like that. But every once in a while, a special engine comes along that we do notate a little bit of history on. And I definitely feel like this engine falls into that category. What do you guys say we check out some quick history on the real Z6 Challenger? The Great Northern had two Z6 Challengers in operation, cab numbers 4000 and 4001. These engines were purchased from their subsidiary railroad, the Spokane, Portland, and Seattle. The SP&S ordered their first batch of Z6 Challengers from Alco and were received in 1937. 6 engines were built, cab numbers 900 through 905. Engines 903 and 904 were eventually sold to the Great Northern Railroad in 1941. They were painted and renumbered to 4000 and 4001. The Great Northern used the pair of Challengers up until 1946. 4000 was sold back to the SP&S and renumbered 910. Cab number 4001 remained in use with the Great Northern until eventually also being sold back to the SP&S in 1950, being renumbered 911. These impressive, monstrous 4664 engines were oil burners. They had a total combined weight, the engine and tender together, of 1,031,000 pounds. They measured 119 feet and 8 inches long and had 69-inch drivers. They operated at 250 psi boiler pressure. The tender could hold 20,000 gallons of water and 6,000 gallons of fuel. These engines were used for fast freight in the Northwest, able to maintain speeds of 60 miles per hour through the rough terrain while pulling a long fleet of reefers and other freight. The SP&S continued the use of the Z6 Challengers through the mid-1950s. Eventually, all of the Z6 Challengers would unfortunately be scrapped by 1960. Another great engine lost to time. Now, what do you say we check out this beautiful model of the Z6 by MTH? This engine was offered in the 2007 Volume 1 catalog and delivered in June of the same year. This engine sports a die-cast metal boiler, tender body, chassis, and truck sides, authentic paint scheme, metal wheels and axles, a precision flywheel-equipped Pitman motor, a constant voltage headlight on both the front as well as on the rear on the tender, operating marker lights and firebox glow, metal handrails with decorative whistle and bell, engineer and fireman figures in the cab, remote-controlled proto-coupler on the rear on the tender, a synchronized fan-driven proto-smoke smoke system. She's a great smoker, like all MTH locomotives. She does come with proto-scale 3.2, being 2-rail capable or convertible, a wireless drawbar. She comes equipped with Proto Sound 2 featuring freight yard sound effects. This engine measures 30 3/4 inches long and comes with a minimum recommended curve of 0.72. Originally, I thought MTH only offered this engine once. However, I discovered they offered this engine a second time back in 2016. They offered the Great Northern Z6s, such as you see here, as well as the original SP&S version. These engines are virtually identical exterior-wise and looks-wise, with the only real difference being the newer engines coming with Proto Sound 3 on board, sporting a quilling whistle. Like I say, I picked this one up a year ago. I came across this one on one of the popular forums online. At the time, I was looking for a big articulated steamer to add to the collection. I had a few in mind, but then this one popped up and it really caught my eye. I can't say I ever really saw one before this one. And I'd have to say this has probably been one of my best secondhand purchases as far as the modern era goes. This thing runs like a top. It runs spectacular. All I've done to it is added a new BCR traction tires and done a lube job on it, but that's it. This thing runs flawlessly. Of course, that's that beautiful P2 3-volt system that this engine has. But yeah, seriously, this thing it runs fantastic. Doesn't have any issues. It's always ready to go. This one did come with a pretty hefty price tag, I'm not going to lie. I think I spent $1,200 on it, something like that, which I don't think was too bad. I don't think I got taken to the cleaners. You got to take into account the time frame that I purchased this engine as well. And then when I was looking it up, that was actually even under the MSRP or original purchase price of this engine. This was actually a very expensive girl back in its heyday. This engine's original MSRP was like $13.99 or $13.50, something like that. That's pretty normal pricing nowadays for a big articulated steamer. But you got to think, this was back in 2007. Yeah, that was a pretty costly purchase. I think that attributes to not seeing a lot of these in people's collections as well. I'm sure a lot of people shied away from that price point. I do have one tiny little qualm with this engine, but it doesn't really have to do with the engine at all, I don't think. It could be my track work. Or if it is the engine, I think it's by design. But what I'm talking about is we got a big articulated engine here. Normally these big articulated engines, they have a big deck on front hovering over the front pilot, whereas obviously this one does not have that. This one has a very short and stubby nose. But you'll notice here on my track work, it's not sitting exactly straight. We're just now coming into a curve, but we're still all on the straightaway, aside from maybe the very front pilot is starting to enter the curve. But you see how the engine kind of sits sideways or diagonally on the track? It's not a very good look over here on the first layout. For this reason, I don't really run this engine a whole lot on this layout. Obviously, it's not that big. This one kind of has its own dedicated track. I try and run it over here on the second layout on this outer loop, because this has some S-curves built into it, and that seems to bring it back and right at center again. So it doesn't have any issue navigating any of that. It just looks a little cattywampus running down the track the way that it does. There's a better look of what I'm talking about. Like I say, I think it just has to do with where the front set of drivers pivots on the engine itself, because I can move it back center again. It's just when it's running by itself going down the track, that's kind of what you see on this first layout. And I will also note, this engine has quite an odd whistle. It's not a bad whistle, and I'm not here to say anything bad about it. It's just not what you would expect out of this big, monstrous engine. It almost sounds more like something, it reminds me of like a bus or maybe a trolley. You'd envision this big engine, you'd think a big, mean-sounding or low-toned whistle. That's not the case with this one, but we'll take a listen to it here in a moment. What do you guys say we fire her up and take her for a few laps around the layout? As always, we'll be using the extended sound sequences throughout the video, but let's get started.
Let's light the fire and get her all out. Hand me a fuse. Get up there and tip the tank. We could use some oil. I'll do it. Look on that water level, will you? Bring that spout over. Okay, that's enough. Don't go for the side rod, will you? Look good. What do you see?
All right, here's that goofy whistle I was talking about. You ready? Not exactly what you would think looking at this engine, is it? And here's the bell. And as I mentioned, she does sport freight sounds, or freight sound effects, which we'll take a listen to here in a moment. But what do you guys say we go ahead and move her out?
So, Charlie, what do you think about these new Challengers?
For one thing, they're faster than anything this size. I've heard 60 mile an hour.
It's huge. Well, if anything, they hear the brass are real proud of these engines.
Hey Luke, here comes the hostler with the bills.
Better get the steam up then. We'll be cleared to leave soon.
What do they have us doing today?
Well, they're giving us the opportunity to see how this engine handles itself.
Aren't we hauling a string of fast freight up the mountain like always?
Sure, but this time we'll get to see how much faster we can get it done.
Well, we've got clearance. The steam's up. All we need is your hand on the throttle.
Then let's get to it.
Hope you enjoyed this quick peek at the MTH Premier Great Northern Z6 Challenger. What an awesome piece, don't you think? If you did enjoy this video, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It would be much appreciated. But anyways, guys, until next time, my name is Zach, and this is Country Bunkers Trains. Y'all take care. I'll see you the next go-around.